Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this.
When Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was thrown out of the White House on Friday, it scuttled an important deal that would have given the U.S. access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. Vince Beiser knows all about the importance of those deposits. He's a journalist and the author of a new book, Power Metal: The Race for the Resources That Will Shape the Future. Vince, thank you so much. I'm a big fan. This is a terrific book.
Hey, thanks a lot, Lisa. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
If you could start by explaining what a power metal is, and in particular, focusing on those rare earth minerals.
Sure. So basically, what I mean by power metals is there's a basket of metals, some of which are really familiar: lithium, copper, cobalt. But basically, what we there's a huge demand for them, an exploding demand for them, because these are the metals we need for renewable energy, for electric vehicles, and for our digital technology, all of our cell phones and cameras and laptops and all the rest of it. It's the same basket of metals. One subset of that group is rare earths, which is this set of really weird, obscure metals that are absolutely critical for things like electric vehicle motors and the screens in all of our cell phones and our laptops, and also a lot of medical and military technologies.
In recent years, China has been the power player, from mining to refining to manufacturing of these, right?
China's been very, very smart on this front. They saw this all coming, and since the 90s, they've been gearing up to really kind of corner the market on all of these critical metals. And today, every single one of these metals that we're talking about, when it comes, as you said, from mining to refining to manufacturing the finished product, China completely dominates the whole supply chain, which gives them enormous geopolitical leverage, and that's a really big problem.
Well, the U.S. Still mines, but not in the scale that we used to. And one of the reasons is communities got sick of it. Mining is messy, and mining was not environmentally friendly. In fact, we had a rare earth mine here in Southern California that was shut down due to pollution. But you say it's time to go back and rethink that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I want to be clear. Like, mining is always destructive. It always causes damage. There's no way to get around that, but you can minimize that damage. Here in the United States, it would really be to our benefit to allow some more mining to happen. Why? Because we have higher environmental standards, we have higher labor standards, and it's very much in our interest to get control of the supply of more of these metals away from China and put them, have that control back in our own hands. So that rare earth mine that you just mentioned in Southern California is a good example. It was closed down for a long time. It used to be the biggest rare earth mine in the world. It's just been reopened a few years ago because they finally got environmental clearance, and they've come up with some new technologies so that there's less, not zero, but less toxic waste that comes out of it. And they're back in business, and they're actually producing about 15% of all the world's rare earths now.
You know, the Trump administration, well aware of the needs we have of the rare earth minerals. Biden administration too, right? The Biden administration,
yeah, absolutely,
and the Inflation Reduction Act. Now the Trump administration is talking about making a deal with Ukraine and wants to buy Greenland. And it's just for these metals, right?
Well, that's the big prize, absolutely. So Greenland, we know for sure, is chock full of rare earths in particular, plus a bunch of other metals that we're talking about. And Ukraine also may have a lot of rare earths and a lot of lithium, which we need for batteries, electric car batteries, and also all of our digital batteries. The weird thing about it that I'm not sure Trump totally understands is everything we know about Ukraine's metals is mostly based on decades-old surveys done under the Soviet Union. So it's not actually totally clear what they have. That's problem number one. Problem number two is a lot of what we know they do have is actually in the Russian-occupied areas already. There's Russian troops standing on top of some of those lithium deposits. So even if Ukraine says, yes, you can mine it, US, there's some big obstacles and unknowns as to whether that'll actually work.
You also wrote about something that I found fascinating called phytomining, and that is using plants to extract these minerals from the earth. How?
Yeah, it sounds totally crazy, but I mean, it's real. in the sense that there are several dozen kinds of plants, a whole bunch of different plants that literally suck up metals from the ground. So like, if it's an area that's already been polluted, if it was near to a mine and there's a lot of nickel or cobalt in the ground, these plants literally suck it up through their roots and concentrate it up in their leaves. So the hope is that you can somehow get enough of these plants in the right places to, first of all, they would like help decontaminate these areas. And then you could pull that metal out of the plants totally, in a completely safe and clean process and end up with a bunch of these metals without having to dig new mines. So far, it's very difficult, very expensive. It's not happening on a commercial scale, but let's
Who
hope.
knows? And you say there is a cost, even clean energy, there's a cost environmentally to create clean energy. But there is something
Absolutely.
that we can all do.
That's the problem with a lot of North America is you have no choice but to own a car. What we need to do is give people the freedom to choose whether or not to own a car by promoting things like bicycling, public transit, more walkable neighborhoods, car sharing schemes, like Uber and Lyft, even though those have their own issues. But basically, if we can just, retrofit our cities and organize our lives in such a way that you don't need to own a car, we will all be much better off. We'll save enormous amounts of energy, enormous amounts of resources. And I got to tell you, you also save a lot of money. We're now a 1-car family instead of a 2-car family. And man, we save a ton of money every year, not to mention all the stress. I don't have to worry about that 1 car to get it registered and insured and all that. It's a big quality of life upgrade.
Vince Pfizer, and the book is called Power Metal. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me on. It was great.
Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest information, balanced coverage, weather updates every 10 minutes, and more. We'll see you then.